23 years. 23 years around the sun. It feels weird to think I've been alive for so long, and yet it feels so short. I spent all this time on Earth, and I still wonder, am I doing what I should be doing? Am I walking the right path? Am I truly enjoying life? Will I ever be good enough? Will I make enough money to get a house someday? Will I get married? Am I wise enough, strong enough, smart enough? Do I pray enough? Do I talk too much? But these things, I've always been an overthinker, so I guess that's something else to learn from. But even with all of these worries, I do have one place where I can go and just be me, and that's the dojo. I can't express how much martial arts has impacted my life. I've loved it so much that back in high school, I used to skip school just to be at the dojo. Though thinking about it, it's probably not the best decision, and you definitely shouldn't do that. When life gets stressful, training feels like therapy. The dojo is my second family, so I often find myself being there more than I do at home. It's not on purpose, but it just makes things easier. But even with karate, these past few years have been tough. Since the 2020 lockdown, I felt empty. Like a part of me wasn't being expressed. Like it didn't have a purpose. Growing up, I was inspired by my dad. He was an artist, and seeing him perform sparked something in me. I started dancing and found joy in it, just like him. And then came my passion for writing. I've been writing stories since I was 4 years old, and I've always wanted to be a writer. And before COVID, I was doing it all. Dancing, writing, karate. Life felt limitless. After high school, I focused on music, went to college for it, and dreamed of becoming an artist. But when the pandemic hit, everything kind of changed. During the lockdown, I poured myself into my creative stuff, music and writing. And for those 2 years, I made progress in ways I hadn't before. But as much as I loved creating, I missed karate. A part of me felt incomplete. So when restrictions lifted, I dove back into karate. At first it felt casual, but then I discovered this whole new side of karate I didn't know existed. And that's the WKF style of karate. I've done competitions before, but this was new. It was something that kind of blew over my head growing up, if I'm being honest. After a few months of my coach kind of convincing me to get back into tournaments and compete, I decided to enter one. I didn't expect much. I wasn't training as hard as others, but somehow, some way, I found myself competing for the best in Canada. And even more shocking to myself is I placed 5th in Canada. That is insane. I didn't expect that from me, to ever even get the opportunity to be there, let alone be able to place 5th in the country for anything. I was shocked, but it caused me to rethink a lot of things in my life. People have always told me that I had potential, that I'm not using my gifts to their fullest. And I remembered the last line of my dojo's creed: my destiny is to be the best I can be. When I was young, I didn't think much about it, but for the first time, I started to really look at that, and it ignited something in me. I started to dream, to ask myself, how far can I go? What does my best really look like? I didn't care if my peak was mediocre or a world-class level athlete. I just wanted to know. Since then, I've dedicated myself to finding out what my best truly looks like. So I began spending 14 to 15 hours a day at the dojo, training, teaching, working out, reading, and praying, all in pursuit of trying to better myself, though not necessarily consistently. In January, I competed in a tournament, but I wasn't at my best. I had some food poisoning from something I ate the day before, and I was feeling off really that whole weekend. But I ended up competing, and I didn't get the results I wanted. From January, I was putting all this work in, and after a month of training, I guess I expected to do well. But even though I didn't get the result I wanted, people noticed how much I had improved, and their encouragement motivated me to keep pushing. Then another month went by, and February came, and I faced a new challenge. I was overtraining. Apparently, this was news to me. I didn't expect to experience that. I started stumbling on moves I usually had no issue performing, and I was running out of breath really fast. So I decided to take a step back and rest for a couple of weeks, thinking I'd, bounce back. But at the next tournament, I failed again to qualify for the Nationals that year. I felt pretty bummed out, I won't lie. I poured everything into something only to feel embarrassed. I felt really disappointed after that. I was pretty down. I started to eat more. I stopped training and let life weigh me down. It wasn't until I received an invitation to compete for the best in Canada again, because of how I did the previous year, that I realized how much I had let myself slip. When I returned to training, the effects of my time off hit me hard. I couldn't even perform a single kata without running out of breath. And with just 1 week to prepare for nationals, I decided to train intensely for 5 days. To my surprise, people noticed how much progress I had made in such a short time, and their encouragement gave me confidence. But when the tournament came and went, I was left feeling ashamed and embarrassed once again. That summer was a pretty stressful time in my adult life, primarily because I've spent so much time trying to figure out what I am to do with this life, and to think I finally found it in maybe competing in karate. I felt, what was the point of continuing if I couldn't meet the expectations others had for me, and in truth, the expectations I had for myself. I told myself I wouldn't touch the tatami again until I lived up to those expectations. In my frustration, though, I turned back to music and writing. I started to truly listen to songs again, like I did when I was younger and I was doing dance. I began writing my book and even got some characters for it drawn. Slowly, these passions brought life back into my days, and eventually I decided to compete again. Not to prove anything to anyone, but simply for myself. I lost matches, of course, but I wasn't upset anymore. Losing didn't bother me the way it used to. During this time, I remembered a quote from a show that I had started watching. It says, "Not everyone who works hard is rewarded, but all those who succeed have worked hard." At first, I thought maybe I'm just one of those people who doesn't make it. But then I dug deeper. Did I really give it my all? Was I putting 110% effort in? Even back in January and February, I cut training short. I skipped stretching. I procrastinated for the sake of scrolling on social media or watching some YouTube videos. Was I truly satisfied with not giving my all? With not discovering my full potential? And then that's when it hit me. My issue was never discipline. I go to work every day, usually earlier than late. It wasn't motivation or even talent either. I've seen people with less make it so far in life. My real problem was fear. I was scared. Scared of my potential. Scared that I'd fail even if I gave everything I had. When I competed or trained, my mind was already thinking about how I'd lose or fall short. It felt easier not to try my best. To skip that one extra rep. To tell myself it wouldn't make a difference, so why bother? The fear of letting others down, my family, God, and even myself was holding me back. My dad asked me an important question recently. What does it feel like to be confident? Do you even know what you look like or sound like when you are confident? I didn't have an answer, but maybe I need to start noticing what it feels like when I am confident. Maybe that will help me to move forward. But as this year ends and a new one begins, I want to share a lesson I've learned. Don't be scared to try. Everyone should strive to be the best they can be, no matter where that journey leads. Whether it's karate, music, poetry, teaching, or any other passion that you have, give it your all. Life is far too short not to pursue that dream or hobby you've always wanted to try. Winning isn't everything. Losing is okay too. Embrace it. Don't make excuses when you lose either. Instead, accept it, respect the person who bested you that day, and remind yourself that it's an opportunity to improve. This is what I've learned from all my losses. I'm still working on it, but I know it's better than staying bitter and giving up just because the results didn't come fast enough. Challenges will always be intimidating, and it's okay to feel some fear, but don't let that fear stop you from trying or even finishing what you started. Life's a marathon. And most importantly, stop giving up and let go of the past. Stop being afraid to live. Don't hide parts of yourself just because you're worried about what others might think or because you fear you won't measure up. It's better to live life fully, pursuing what you love to do to the best of your ability, than to live with regret over what you never tried. We only get one life, and every life, no matter how small, is significant. Your life, my life, our lives is a life worth fighting for. And don't let anybody tell you that it's not. And there's still a lot in me that I want to give and show. So keep going, one step at a time, one day at a time. God bless, my friend.